Hey guys, welcome to episode 18 of Teens and Faith Catholic Conversations. I'm your host Annie, and I'm joined by my co-host Gianna.
Hey, what's up?
So before we get into this episode, we wanted to start off with our prayer. O Saint Philomena, Virgin and Martyr, pray for us that, through thy most powerful intercession, we may obtain that purity of mind and heart which leads to the perfect love of God. Amen.
Amen.
So Gianna, what do we have coming up this episode?
This episode, we will be interviewing Bishop Nkamuke from Nigeria. He's actually in Ohio for a little vacation right now, so we
Mhm.
decided to bother him on his vacation. I'm kidding, but it was very good. Annie and I are still shocked about it because we just filmed it. We're recording the intro
Yeah.
after we filmed it, so it was really good, and we really hope you guys enjoy it. So
Yes.
and learn a lot from it.
Yeah. All right, and so Gianna and I both have some shout outs to give. So my first shout out is to my friends Frank and Julia. Shout out if you guys are listening.
And then we also wanted to shout out um, Limin. I'm very sorry if I'm butchering your name, or like your email, whatever. But she's the 17-year-old girl from Switzerland that commented on our interview with Kevin Davis, and we just wanted to say that comment just meant a lot to us. We really appreciated it, and we will keep you in our prayers that you are able to convert, your family is able to convert, and you're able to get mass more regularly and receive the sacraments. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it meant a lot to us. We were just like, what? When we saw that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for commenting. And if you would ever like to come on our podcast, please let us know because we would absolutely love to have you on.
Yes, yes. So, all right, Annie, what have you been up to?
I was not prepared for that question. Usually I have something ready, but I feel like I did something big lately. Um, we're getting ready for Thanksgiving because we always host at our house. And because we have the nine in my family, my uncle, my grandparents, so it's really chaotic and I usually help cook, so that's pretty fun. Um, yeah, that's honestly pretty much it. How about you, Gianna?
Um, Not too much either. My life isn't that exciting, as you've probably could tell from past podcasts. So it's like, hey, what are you doing? Nothing, just the usual boring stuff. Yeah, I've become a mom in my early teen years. Anyway, um, oh, I did want to say, so could you all please offer up some prayers for my mom just because she's going through a lot of hard stuff right now and like a lot of health problems and everything. So if you guys could just all pray for her, that would mean a lot to me and to her too. So um yeah, that's pretty much it.
So now it is time to interview His Excellency Bishop Nkamuke. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you. My name is Bishop Nkamuke Okechukwu Deed, and I am from Nigeria in Western Africa. And I'm the first of four children, and from a Novo Sodo family before I came into tradition. So, well, I don't know. I think that's really the much that unless you want some specific things, these are the my basic information, and I went to the seminary in Florida. I finished from Florida in 2000 and Most Holy Trinity Seminary in Florida in 2013. I was ordained by Bishop Dolan to the priesthood, and then last year, I was consecrated a bishop by Bishop Charles Maguire.
Okay.
That's very interesting. So from that little bit, I assume you weren't always Sedevacantist, but when did you become Sedevacantist or convert to that?
Yes, I was not always a Sedevacantist, although my family has always been Novo Sodo. It's quite an interesting story. My journey into this Sedevacantist movement. Um, I mean, At first, I was even just a nominal Catholic because we really didn't have any kind of, as a noble sort of Catholic, there was not much devotion as a young person, in the noble sort of, except that once in a while we said our prayers and things like that. But the first time I began to take my faith serious, and that was in the noble sort of actually, was when I joined a group called the Legion of Mary. Legionary of Mary is a group founded by Frank Duff, the Irish man Frank Duff, and that group is based on devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary. And that was when I began to take my faith serious. And because the nature of the society is that you sometimes you have to go out to preach about the Catholic faith to other persons, even to Muslims sometimes. It was necessary for me to study about the faith so that I can know what to tell others when we go on the streets, to meet some people different from door to door visitation. So that got me interested in the Catholic faith, and from there I began to, study quite a lot about the faith. First of all, it began with trying to find answers to Protestant objections about the Catholic faith. And so I read a couple of books. But then when I got to the university, which was in 2001, the college, that is, I continued my study of the Catholic faith. And then 2 years later, I began to hear about the Latin Mass. I didn't know that there was a Latin Mass until 2003. And then I became curious and and when I learned that there was a place where the Mass was said in Nigeria, I became even more interested, And then I tried to find out more, and we got in touch with this was the indoor Mass in those days. That is the Mass that is, although it's a Latin Mass, but it's under the Novus Ordo, see? So, and then I began to go there occasionally for Mass when I can. Eventually, while I was there, I discovered about the SSPX, and not just myself alongside with some other young men like me who were in the college at the time. And so we tried to join the SSPX, but it was only a very brief spell that we spent there until we now discovered that the SSPX is still not the ideal place for us to go. So, and then we got in touch with some bishops, in the US. This was around 2004, 2005, and we got in touch first of all with Bishop Ivarunas, asked him some questions about the faith. He was quite happy to talk to us, but eventually, by some divine providence, we settled with Bishop Dolan, who now took us under his charge and began to take care of our spiritual needs. So this was by 2005, 2006, we were already working with Bishop Dolan of happy memory, and I think in the year 2007, I believe, he sent or was it 2006? I'm not sure. He sent a priest down to us, an old man, Father Leslie from South Africa, who came to see us and give us the sacrament. And that was the first time ever we got to know about the Serevacanti. I mean, we got to see Serevacanti's priest. And it was, for all of us, it was like our first Mass, It was quite a happy time for us. And we're so excited to be able to witness the true Mass for the first time in our lives, actually. And well, the priest came again in 2008. Then he was supposed to come the next year, 2009, but he died. He was actually killed by some robber. Somebody came to rob him in his house, and then of course because he saw his face, he had to kill him, and and that was the end of our experience. But that this was in his house in South Africa that it happened. And then Bishop Dolan, well, he didn't stop there. In 2009, he sent Father Ecoli to come and see us. Father Ecoli is a priest in Seattle, Washington. And then Father Ecoli came again a second time in 2010. And then Father Lara became in 2011 to also give us the sacrament. So we had Mass once in a year, but we were quite, although I myself joined the seminary school in 2009, so I was not there when Father Ecoli came the second time, and when Father Lara became in 2011. But I myself got ordained in 2013, and I began to take care of the mission in Nigeria since I got ordained in 2013.
Oh wow. That's a lot that happened in between that
Yeah,
time.
that is a really
Yes.
cool conversion story too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was Father Leslie well, you said because the robber saw his face, was it just because he knew he was like a priest, or like why did that um be a thing sort of?
Oh yes. It turned out that this young man um, is also one of the persons that Father had been taking care of.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
So Father knew him because they come to him for help. You see.
Oh,
And
Yeah.
that's why he had to kill the priests. He's actually originally an Englishman, but who came to live in South Africa for a long time. So I think yeah at the time we knew him was already 82 years old, 82.
Wow.
Yes.
that's crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
So Father Leslie, like the first set of Sedevacanist priest in all of Africa at the time, or
Well, there at the time, well, we didn't know whether there was anybody else other than him. As far as we knew, he was the only priest we knew, the only true
Mm.
priest we knew.
wow,
That
that
we
is
is
had
wow.
at the time we hadn't seen any priest at all. We either have the noble Sado or the indult, or which is all the same thing. And in fact, there was a priest that we met who went to Switzerland to get trained with the SSPX. So when in the brief time we spent with the SSPX, we're hoping for him to come back and so we can have a mission with him. But while he
Okay.
was there, we discovered that we shouldn't be with the SSPS.
Mhm.
And that's what happened. So we left him before he even came back to Nigeria.
Okay.
okay.
Mm.
That's crazy.
Wow. Yeah. So our next question we have for you is, how did you know your vocation?
Okay, well, the first time I showed interest in being a priest, I think that would be in the year 1995.
Okay.
I was in my I was in high school in my okay, I would say let's just say like I was in my fifth year in high school. I don't know how uh, in the fourth year, in my fourth year, at the beginning of my fourth year in high school.
Okay.
And then I have an uncle who is a noble sort of priest.
Mm.
And I really wanted to be like him. That was all I knew at the time. In fact, I requested from him that I would like to join the seminary school at the time, and I didn't know anything else other than the Novo Sodo. But he advised me that I should hold on until I'm done with college, that I should go to college first. Well, that was not a good advice for a young man who wants to be a priest, but in my own case, it turned out to be providential, because if I had joined after my high school, I would never have, perhaps, I would not have known about the true faith, you see. So even though in itself, you shouldn't tell a young man that he should go to college before the seminary, in my case, it worked out well. And that's the first time. So it was while I was in the university, towards the end, like I said, 2003, that I began to know about the Latin Mass, and then I now began to move towards the Latin Mass, and that's when I decided that I was going to try to be a priest in the Latin Mass. And well, in 2006, we tried to get a visa, but I was denied. I think the next year, 2007. And then in 2009, I applied again a third time and I got a visa.
Okay.
Crazy. Yeah, we actually recently interviewed Sister Ulrika at St. Gertrude the Great, and she was kind of saying the same thing, except a little different, where she went to college and she knew her vocation after that. She was like, nope, the world isn't for her. Like she's going into the religious vocation. So actually, college can help in some ways if it's
Yeah.
leading you to a religious
Yeah.
vocation. So
Yeah, yes, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, if you are inclined towards the religious life, it will be easy to when you see the world, and your mind is not set on whatever pertains to the world, it will be easy for you to live, because you've seen it and you've seen that there's nothing in there for you, you see. So it can help you in that sense, yes. Mm. Mm.
so let's see. Okay, so we wanted to know, what is it like to be a bishop in Nigeria? Like, what would you describe it as? So,
Well, first of all, it's quite a new experience, of course, for me. And but nothing more in terms of the work that I have to do, not much has changed, because we still have the same missions that we used to have, except that now I have to add to the trips that I make. I have to do confirmations, and whenever the case arises, I do also ordinations. In fact, there was an ordination in January of this year in Nigeria. We ordained two priests, in Nigeria. But there's really not, I haven't really had to do too much extra than I used to do when I was as a priest. So um, I don't. I mean, the fact is, well, of course, a lot of things are different. First and foremost, with the added duties that you have to do. But other than that, I think it's still um, the same kind of work that I've been doing. The ceremonies are more elaborate, of course, because as a bishop, and so other than that, there's really the only good thing though is that I don't work as much as I used to. Not just because that I'm a bishop, but because we now have more priests than we used to have. So in terms of the work, it actually got better, because I do less. We have four other priests who do much of the work, but I still teach in the seminary, and I still have to travel occasionally.
Okay.
really cool how like we've talked to a lot of people where who started off with like really small churches or anything or like they didn't have one at first and how they progressed over time and even Nigeria. I mean, now they have a bishop there. Now they can do confirmations, ordinations. I mean, that is really cool to see. So,
Hmm.
Yeah. So you said there was a seminary in Nigeria. How did that get started?
Oh, that's another interesting story. When I came back from the US, I left the US in 2014. That is about a year after my ordination, and then I came back to Nigeria. Well, we as soon as I came back, I started to have a seminary, but not in a big way. Just one person. I was teaching just one person in an informal manner. We didn't really have the plan at all of establishing, like a seminary school. So, but from there, somebody else joined us, and I began to train the two of them, and I would travel with them wherever I went to, because you see, our missions in Nigeria is so far apart, so far from each other. So sometimes I would spend 2 months in a particular location, and then after that, I would take another 2 months in a different place, So, whenever I traveled, I went with the two young men, the two seminarians. But as time went on, one of the seminarians stopped, and then the other one continued. And then eventually somebody else, Father Kurulu, he actually joined, Father John Okurulu, and I think from there it began to evolve into like a regular seminary, and we began to have particular set of schedules and everything. And with the coming of Father Kerulo, Father Jeka, and some other persons, it now became a full-fledged seminary, and then that's how I would say it evolved, to what we have now today. We have seven major seminarians, and three minor seminarians, just some young men whose parents want them to stay with us in the seminary, to pray with us, and to study with us. Mm.
Okay. That is a really cool story.
Yes.
so Nigeria is obviously, I mean, everywhere you have dangers to look out for, but what are some of the dangers that you've encountered in Nigeria along the way, like by trying to get from mission to mission, like administering sacraments and that sort of thing?
There's a lot of things to say about that. Um, well, I've had some experiences, some rather close shaves, as if I may use the expression. I think the first experience I had with bad guys was one of the times I was in. They came to rob. They came to rob our mission when we were in Lagos, and I was not in Lagos at the time, but they came and they took lots of things from the chapel. And then about the same time, just about the same time, I think that was in 2015 or so. Um, I came in late from one of the missions, very late, and then as I lay down to sleep, there was a knock on my window. Two robbers came. My window was open, and one had a gun at me, and the other one told me to bring everything, all the money, everything I had. I mean, I was in shock. That was the first time in my life that I'm face to face with a gun facing me, And now I don't know if the gun was real or not, but of course you wouldn't know. But I was so scared, and they could see my room because there was no fence. They could see my room. They saw everything I had in the room, and I had to give them my laptop, my phone. I think, yeah, my phone and whatever else that I had. And that was the closest I came to being attacked by robbers. And then, well, I mean, I had some other close shaves. I remember on two occasions. Was it two? Yeah, or one occasion, I was driving within Lagos. It was around in the evening time, and we were stuck in the traffic, and some robbers came to my car window and took everything I had in the traffic. So that has been that. Well, that also was a bit traumatic, scary. And then, but the other dangers we face is the possibility of being attacked on while traveling. We have really dangerous roads in some parts of Nigeria, and it just so happens that our mission trips have to take us through those areas. You can't really avoid it. I mean, you could be driving at one moment, the next moment there'll be robbery either in your front or behind you. If you have to kind of always be aware that something can happen at any given time. And but fortunately, I have never, while on a journey that's from one state to another, I have never really been attacked by robbers while on a long trip. The one that I had, it was within Lagos, just within the town, but I've never been the victim of a robbery attack while traveling to, even though sometimes I have to travel long distance, even at some odd hours in the night and everything. But I always somehow, by God's divine providence, I've never encountered the people, you hear stories of attacks by robbers, by terrorists, by bandits, all the time. But God has so far kept us, not just myself, but even all the other priests from such attacks. In fact, um, I think that was last year. I was traveling to one of the missions on a rainy day, and though nothing happened to me, but some other priest in the Noble Sodo traveling along the same routes was kidnapped along with the seminarian at the same time that I was traveling. You see, at the same area. You see, so I mean, I
Wow.
got it. Yeah, that was so it was in the news, and I checked the same time, the same area. I was quite shocked, to hear that. It's a common. It happens very all too often. Priests, seminarians, get attacked. In fact, 2 Sundays ago, in one of the missions, one of the towns who have a mission, a priest was no sort of priest was kidnapped while they were at meal in the seminary. You see, and so, but we have never had to encounter those things, and I really thank God for that. But again, whenever one can never say for sure. So when you take off on one of when I take off on one of the trips we make, I know that it's entirely up to God to see me safe or not. So we just we commit our journey to God, and sometimes sometimes you're lucky, you hear of the robbery taking place in the front, and then you have to hold on. Or sometimes you see cars turning back quickly on the road, you have to join them. And yeah, but we hear about it, even the very places we go to. There are dangers and news and reports, but somehow I've never seen those things by myself. But the dangers are always very much there on the roads. Yeah.
Wow. Some of those things that you mentioned sound absolutely horrifying, and it truly is by God's grace that you yourself haven't experienced any of those yet.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's terrifying. I can't imagine like just going through that. And you all like the seminarians and like the priests in Nigeria, and you all just seem so happy and like perfectly fine with it. And like I would be terrified. I
Hmm.
would like no one would want to talk to me after that. Like I don't know. That's just crazy to
Yeah.
me. I've had some experiences like around my church, like sometimes there's some weird people running across, like I've come across a drunk man in the middle of a road before. But that is like nothing compared to like a robber or
Yeah.
like pointing a gun at you. Like
Yes.
that's crazy.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Oh, yes. Well, I mean, you see, when you are in an area, you get used to the life there, you see. I mean, it's not, when you look at it, it's not so much, if you were based in Nigeria, you would be conscious of these things. You see what I mean? So it may sound horrifying to somebody who is somewhere that's safer, but when this is something that you live with every day, it takes away from the terror. You see, the fact that you know that this can happen, and then you're better prepared, to guard against these things. In fact, um, I mean, so yeah, I think it all depends on the environment the person has have been placed in,
Hmm.
by God. Yeah, and the seminarians, like, yeah, you rightly pointed out, we have been blessed with a very good set of seminarians who are doing quite well, and they all work very hard. In fact, maybe if later when you ask, I will tell you much about the seminary, how the life goes. We have it's um, the structure of the seminary, is such that it's unlike here in the US, the mobility is not as easy for us as it is down here. So we have a priests spread out in the different places, but they have with them seminarians or other persons to stay with to assist them. So
Hmm.
yeah, we have an interesting setup which actually works out very well for us. Mm.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. That's really good.
Mm.
Also, I was kind of curious. So, Nigeria, I know there's kind of like a split, like is like the northern half of Nigeria like more the terrorist groups and the southern is more the Christian, Catholic, that sort of thing?
Yeah, that's correct. Yes, um,
Okay.
we have two main religions. We have the Muslims and then we have the Christians. And the Christians, we have lots of Protestants, We also have the pagans, that is the tradition, what we call the pagans, that they're not, although they're not much, but they are increasing. They're getting more in number, and for some strange reasons. So in the north, we have the Muslims, and with the Muslims, we have the terrorists, Boko Haram, which is one of the most dangerous terrorist group in the world now, but right there in the north. And then we have the headsmen, the caturreras, who also they lots of they also go about on rampage. They ransack or they sack towns, killing people and looting whatever they see. And they don't care whether you are a Muslim or a Christian, but if you're a Christian, it's worse for you. You suffer a worse fate when you're a Christian because of these are extremists, even considered as by their own standard, just extremists. So, and then in the South, we have the majorly Christians, although there are some Muslims also in the South, but they are not the violent type, you see, because I think because they live in the midst of some Christians, they're not as violent as those in the north. And then in the southwest, the southwest, there's a mixture of Christians and the Muslims, the Yorubas. In the southeast, it's much more Christians than Muslims. I'm from the southeastern Nigeria, and the Catholic Church is the Catholic faith, well, even though it's in Novo Sodo, is the major religion among the Christians in the south, and although there are some, even though the majority of of the terrorism, and the kidnappings and stuff take place in the northern part and middle belt, that is the center of the country. You do have these terrorists and bandits make forays. They come once in a while to the south to kidnap people. In fact, they have here and there you find dens, and hideouts for these people. So yeah, so we don't unlike in the north, we don't we don't see much of, although there are Muslims, like I said, but we don't see um it's not as the terror is not as bad in the south as it is in the north. Although like I said, we have other things to worry about, but we are not is not as it is in the north. In the north, for example, every festive season, Christmas, Easter, there must be a bomb blast in a church. It's a given. You want Christmas now, you will hear it will be announced, or there was a bomb apart, so some persons were massacred and everything. So, but we don't have those too much in the south. Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. But did you have something like a problem with like where I guess the Northerners were coming down into the South a few months ago? Like I know you were asking for prayers because there were things happening, but
Yes, yes. Now there are some. Okay, let me. In the some weeks ago or some months ago, although like I would do would we, yes, of course, we have Northerners sometimes come into the South. In fact, some months ago, the whole priests, most of the priests in a state in the Southeast went on a protest.
oh,
The whole praise. They're protesting the the kidnapping, the constant kidnap of the priests. So they
wow.
all marched to the government house to protest that this is getting too much. Why is nothing being done? Why these people kidnap us just as they wish, according to without any security to protect them. So now, but in addition to all this, the problem we face in the South, in the Southeast, is this. We have, you see, the Southeast has been marginal. They've not been treated fairly like other parts of the country. There have been very clear efforts to sideline them, in whatever pertains to the country's government and stuff. So they want to leave Nigeria. That's my part of the country. And some groups are using, they are making the point through violence. So for example, they even have a military group, illegal forces. We call them the Eastern. That is well, they are like a violent group. They have the illegal, will I say, armed group who try to cause confusion, just in the hope that the government will say, okay, you can now go. So once in a while, these people come out and begin to fight with the security forces, with the soldiers. You see, in fact, I posted on Twitter, I think, and I don't know whether on Facebook, in my own capital city, these armed men were all over the city, shooting at anything and anybody. Even the soldiers had to run away. You see, when this happens, the people are at the mercy of these cruel people. So they don't really. That is what we have to contend with, down in the south. These are people that want to succeed, want to leave the country because we are being marginalized by the country. So that's what happens. It happens, for example, the very day on the day after I left one of our missions. That's about 2 Sundays ago. That's on the third, on the third of this month. The Monday after, that's on the fourth, there was an attack in which gunmen began to shoot at the soldiers and anybody who was traveling along that route. People had to run to hide in the bushes, and people were killed just after I passed through that road. So yeah, I mean, we're exposed to different kinds of danger, but we are careful. However, we're not reckless in our movement. We always listen for news, security information. We try to, if for example, I were going to a mission, somewhere far away, and I'm aware that there are rumors of violence, I will call those in that place to find out if it's safe to go there, if the road is okay now. So we always make sure everything is fine. We don't we try not to take unnecessary risk.
Okay. Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah. All right. So our next question we have for you is, how were you elected bishop, and what was your reaction when you found out you were going to become a bishop?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Well, you see, this is after the COVID-19 happened. I'm sure you agree with me that a lot of things change in this world after COVID-19.
Yeah.
You see, the government, uh, Bishop Sambon would say that the COVID-19 was an experiment which which made the government realize that they can control the people whenever they want, and that is truly the fact. Now, because of the COVID-19, Bishop Dolan told me that given what's happening in the world today, that he has to make me, because up to this time, I've been requesting that a bishop visit us, in Nigeria to give us the sacraments. But Bishop Dolan said the best would be for me to be made a bishop. You see, well, I didn't want it at first. I had already planned how I would spend my life as a priest, and I wanted to just, after some years, go somewhere and everything. Bishop Dolan said, well, all that has to change because there's no other way about it. You have to be a bishop. There's no other way that the faithful in Nigeria will benefit unless I become a bishop. So I raised some objections and everything, but Bishop Sam Dolan said, well, those things don't matter, that I just have to be consecrated. That is, in fact, he told me as at 2021, 2020, I should just do my best to get a visa so that they can, when I can come over and they can consecrate me. And that's really, but well, as you know, Bishop Dolan died. And in fact, eventually, Bishop Maguire just continued from where Bishop Dolan stopped, and then decided. Eventually, I was able to come over last year to be made a bishop.
Oh, wow.
Okay, wow.
How long does it usually take to get a visa or like have all the documents processed and everything?
Not long at all. Well, I mean, the problem is the difficulty for us in Nigeria is not really how long. It's a question of the chances of getting a visa in Nigeria. You see, because everybody wants to leave the country, you see, um, obviously it will be difficult for the American embassy to grant everybody a visa. So they are very strict with the visa, with American visa. They don't give it out easily. You have to be very you must be able to convince them before you are given a visa. In fact, like I said, I had to try 3 times. The first 2 times I could not prove to them. You have to show them that you are coming back home before they can give you a visa. If you don't have any proof, if you don't have anything that will keep you in the country, that will bring you back to Nigeria, they wouldn't give you a visa. So, but after I got my first, thank you. After I got my first visa, it was not difficult to get the other one because I didn't break any rule, and I have shown them that I would go and then return back to Nigeria. So it was quite easy to get a visa. In last year when I applied for the visa. Although at the same time that I was given a visa, most other persons who came, hundreds of them who came for the visa, were all denied, in fact. But because I've visited the US a few times, it was easy for me to get a visa.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so as you might know, our podcast, like the patron saint of our podcast is Saint Philomena, which is kind of why we came to ask you this question. How did your church come to be named Saint Philomena?
Yes, that is it was not intended actually. We have a name called we are called the Society of Traditional Roman Catholics, STRC. That's our name. We tried to register the name, but the government refused to accept it. I don't know if it's because of the Novus Ordo. I don't know why. So they refused to accept it. We used different lawyers several times. They kept rejecting it. And then eventually we chose the name Saint Philomena, which is the name of one of our mission in Port Harcourt, in one of the river states in the south. So we chose that name just to try one more time. You see, so and we got our mission registered under Saint Philomena's Catholic Church.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is interesting too that they rejected it. Like you couldn't use
Yeah.
it before. I'm
Mhm.
like, I didn't
Mhm.
know that you would need to get permission to use a name for
Mhm.
your church. It's like, why would the government care that much?
Yeah, that's a little
We
weird.
don't. Yeah, we don't need permission to use, but in order to be recognized by the state, by the government, you see, you have to register with them. And then of course you need a name to register with. We call it the Corporate Affairs Commission. That is the people in charge of organizations. You see what I mean? So that is where we had a difficult. Long before then, we go by the name of Society of Traditional Roman Catholics, and we have different missions, different names: Saint Patrick, St. Louis de Montfort, St. Philomena, St. Francis. We have two St. Francis, two of them, and so many other. We have quite a good number of missions. We have 12 missions, 12 names. You see, and so and our seminary is called Sede Sapientia, which is a City of Wisdom Seminary, and so we have different names, but we wanted a name that would cover the whole mission, but they didn't accept that name, so we chose Saint Philomena.
Okay.
That's a cool story.
That is really cool.
So, kind of staying on the topics of saints, do you have any special devotions to any saints?
Yes. Well, my favorite is Saint Philomena, as it turns out, and this is I think this is because of the story of Saint Philomena, but especially because of the attempts by the modernists to suppress her. You see, that's really why I chose her. In fact, when I was confirmed in Florida, in the seminary in Florida, I chose the name St. John Mary Vianney because of St. Philomena. You see,
Okay.
because St. John Vianney was a good, will I say, a good client of St. Philomena. You see that? So that's why I chose that name for my confirmation.
That is
Wow,
really,
that is really cool.
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, there's no arguing. Both of those are great saints. So,
Yeah.
Okay, and then for our last question, do you have any advice to teenagers?
Yes. First of all, is in a way, teenagers today find themselves in a world where many things have gone bad, many things have gone bad in this modern world. It was not, even though I'm not that old still, it was not as bad in my time. The social media opened the way for so many dangers. It brought a lot of good, but it also brought a lot of dangers to people's lives. And because this wave, this wave happened at a time when the faith is no longer as visible, as strong, you know, as influential as it used to be in the past. It made for a very difficult life for these for young people, because on the one hand, they don't know, many young people don't know how to live. They don't know how to live well. On the other hand, nothing to protect them from the dangers that is so common from different areas. The devil let loose all of his arsenal at a time when people had very little to defend themselves with, because will I say, the almost obscurity of the Catholic faith. So the teenagers are left. Many people, young people, are left exposed to all of these dangers with little or nothing to hold on to, and it is very easy to despair regarding this situation. I'm hoping that not only those who are in the faith, we see this this video, but even those who are still struggling to come to terms with life, because if you take away the faith, if you take away what everything that the Catholic faith brings with it, that is in the Catholic faith, you will not find any meaning, much meaning in life. That is the truth. Yeah, a person might get successful and get all the money, but it will be empty if you don't find the faith. So my advice to anyone who will listen, for a young person, the first thing to do is to understand that to seek to acquire, first and foremost, a deep sense of the Catholic faith. To let, not just to be a Catholic, but to let the Catholic faith determine every detail of your life. Because the Catholic is a universe in itself. The Catholic faith has everything that you need to live a good life, even in this world. In this world of we will have so little faith. If you have the Catholic faith and you live by it, you are safe from a lot of dangers in the world. That is really have been my experience. I've seen this happen down home in Nigeria. I've seen young people come to the mission, and they've had their life turned around because of the Catholic faith. So one cannot overemphasize the significance of being a Catholic, especially as a young person. I tell some people how, for example, Are you even going to know the best thing for you? Even maybe when the time comes for you to get married, how will you even know the criteria to choose the right person unless you have the faith? You see what I mean? So it's a very practical. The importance of the faith is not just it's not only in the prayers, and the devotion, but it's very practical. It can be applied to help you to go through life. Um, of course, there will always be the dangers, but you'll be well prepared. So I advise the young people, the teenagers, to hold on to the faith, to let it define all the actions, the way they think, in practical matters, whatever choice you make in life should be informed by the faith. You see, does you should just let it influence whatever you do, in life. And of course, as a Catholic, you should have devotion, of course, to the first and foremost, to the blessed sacraments, and then to the Blessed Virgin Mary. Say your rosary every day. That can sometimes make the difference, make a very big difference in your life. When you say that rosary, the rosary a day that you say can be the difference between despair, as maybe, because sometimes even with all the best intention, you can fall into some challenges, some troubles, and if you have the habit of praying the rosary, especially, it can make a difference between complete despair and also and the hope of coming back again to life of grace.
Thank
Wow,
you so
that is
much.
really
That's
good
great advice.
advice. Yes,
Mm.
thank you so much. That definitely helped
Mm.
me, and I hope that it will help a bunch of other teenagers listening.
Yes.
Yes, you're welcome.
All right, so that wraps up our interview. And is there anything else you want to add before we let you go?
Oh, well, nothing except that I'm always happy to come to the US. You see, this is where everything started. And for me, I tell people that I was made in America. I was made here because I mean, the traditional, the Catholic faith, the traditional Catholic faith gave a lot of it. Not just that I came to be a priest, it helped me, even um, it had a deeper effect on me as a Catholic. So, and that was because I was able to discover these holy priests and bishops, and then I came to the US. So, I just want to express that I'm grateful, for the opportunity that God made available to me to come here and to be able to be associated with people whose interest in life is to first and foremost, give glory to God, and to also strive for their own and salvation. If you look outside of the Catholic secular and Catholic faith, you will realize just how fortunate you are, how blessed you are to even think about, to even begin to think about your salvation. People don't care about these things anymore. And it truly is something to give thanks to God for. So other than that, I don't have too much else to say, except to also thank you for the opportunity to have this interview.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you
Yeah,
so
it's
much for
great.
coming on. This is really fun.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
So that wraps up episode 18, and thank you guys so much for watching.
Yep. And next episode, we will be interviewing Sister Ulrika from St. Gertrude the Great. So that is also a very good episode. I don't know why I said we will be interviewing because we already interviewed her. Her
Yep.
episode is coming out next week. Yeah. But she was also very good. And also, don't worry, we will get teens back on our podcast. It just hasn't.
Eventually.
Yeah, exactly. It just hasn't happened yet. It's been a bunch of adults, which there's nothing wrong with that. Very learned, amazing adults. But yeah, so we will be putting the teens back in Teens and Faith very
Yeah.
soon.
Yes.
But yeah, so
I still think it's crazy that when we started this podcast, we honestly didn't know if we were going to even have any teenager guests, and now we have interviewed two bishops, a priest, a sister, and Kevin Davis, and then Holly from the Catholic Family Podcast. Like, how did that happen?
I know. We were like, if it ever happens, and we got it like so quickly. It was crazy. I mean, my brother Elias likes to tell us, he's like, well, you guys wouldn't have gotten a bunch of teenager interviewers without me. I'm like, yeah, because he was the first episode. But it's true actually. I mean, we got a lot more teenagers after Elias did it. I think it was just because they saw how it was and it was like, oh, this is easy, I'll go do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
shout out
yeah.
to Elias. Thank you for starting our podcast for us, I guess.
Yeah, but yeah, and then we got all the bishops on, like, and the priests and everything, the clergy. That's just crazy, sister. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that's
All
the
right.
end of it. Yeah.
Okay, so as always, God bless and Saint Philomena,
Powerful God, pray for
pray for
us.
us.